What's going on, people, and welcome to Man Knows Football. You're here with myself, Guni, and it's been a minute. It's been over a month since I put out a video, but this one ain't about me. There's no time for explanations. You lot can see the guest that I've got on the show, so this one you already know is bound to be a good episode, a special episode, and a good one to come back on. I've got Younes. Obviously, you all know Younes. I've also got Fraizer here for the first time as well. Welcome to Man Knows Football, Mr. Fraizer Fletcher, whose social media details, as everybody else's social media details, will be down there in the description. Clickable links as well. So go and give the boys some love and support. And man, it's been a long time coming. You're still not going to see his face, yeah, because this is how he's keeping it. But you're still arriving for the barbecue. Show me one grill master that has been better than Darko. Show me one, and I will call you a liar. Darko is back with the hot barbecue. He's back with the marinated stuff. He's back with the good stuff. Darko, welcome to the show, my bro. Well, why am I saying welcome? This is your thing, bro. This is all based on your information. So, yeah, man. Darko, thank you for agreeing to jump on the channel, man, and give out your information. It is much appreciated from us over here. How you doing, my bro?
I'm very good, thanks, bro. How you doing?
Yeah, man, not too bad, not too bad. I'm happy to be back. Obviously, I've had a bit of a long break off, but we're not going to go into those reasons because we're here to talk about transfers. That time has come. You get me? We've heard a lot of stories so far, and it's still very, very early in the transfer window. Do you know what I mean? And it's already been crazy. So many different stories have been coming out. But today, we are going to focus on Chelsea. But I will say this. Going forward, we are definitely going to mix it up. We are not going to just stick specifically to Chelsea. We will be involving other clubs as well. But we started off with Chelsea because, you know, it's only right. Myself being a Chelsea supporter, Younes being a Chelsea supporter, Darko being a Chelsea supporter. Fraizer is a Rangers fan.
Well, basically a Chelsea fan.
Basically a Chelsea fan. You know what I mean? He's basically a Chelsea fan. So we will start off with Chelsea. But let's go with the outgoings. Go on.
I'm a very happy for the next minute West Ham supporter because they have just won the Europa Conference League. So
yep.
And David Moises is Scottish. On your sale, Davy boy, for the Scots. First manager to do it since Sir Alex Ferguson. First British manager to win a trophy since Sir Alex Ferguson. And again, it's Scottish. So if you need a British manager to win you a trophy, you know what country to come to.
Fair play. Yeah. I can't argue that.
Congratulations to Declan Rice as well.
Our coaches are in the mud.
Yeah, not a bad last game for West Ham, eh? For Declan Rice.
Yeah, sorry, man. Good way for Deckers to end his career. Obviously, that's a name that we might be talking about in a bit more further conversation later on. But right now, we are going to be discussing potential outgoings. And we're going to start off with one name, yeah? Because there's been several. We've been looking over the past few days like, yes, come on, get them out the door. But we've been hearing different mixed rumors. I'm going to start off with Ruben Loftus-Cheek. Yeah, was rumored to be moving to AC Milan, and it looked like it was pretty hot. Unfortunately, Maldini and several other board members got fired, and it looks like the move is potentially off. So, lads, let's start off with how you feel about that. Younes, talk to me.
I mean, yeah, this is from the outside. Obviously, I look at this and I think, yeah, this is something we can't control. It's one of those things that can happen, but in terms of the whole thing being suspended, I hope that it's just on the shelf up until when maybe someone replaces Maldini and then it kicks off again and he can complete his move, because I can only imagine he says goodbye in a very respectable way on his last game where he got a standing ovation and a clap, and that was very nice to see as a Cobham graduate. And then, you know, can you imagine if it all just goes off and he shows up back day one pre-season? Like, it's just... Nah, he's got to go and respectfully so. And if it goes through, then I'll be happy. Hopefully, it could just be picked up again. Obviously, hopefully these lads will have more info. But if it's the case that he is going to go, then I'll be happy for him.
Fraizer, I know you're not a Chelsea fan, but what are your thoughts on Ruben Loftus-Cheek first of all as a player?
Oh, I have to kind of shout out who I work for, because if I don't, my boss will ring me and be like, "Stop doing things and not saying whoever." So obviously I'm the football and transfer correspondent, Football Insider. I've talked about Ruben Loftus-Cheek from what I know. Darko, me and Darko often, we tweet a lot of the same stuff, don't we, Darko? We kind of are on the same lines a lot of the time. But from what I know about Ruben Loftus-Cheek, is there's been talks that have been ongoing for a long time. AC Milan actually came in for him in January and were really keen for him then, and that wasn't something Chelsea were ready to do at that point. AC Milan also had a busy season and schedule, and January window was never the best time to do these deals, so that kind of fell apart quite quickly. My understanding is talks have all been very early. There's been nothing that's actually advanced, so any reports that are saying it's been advanced, that's not what I've heard. I've just heard it's all been quite early, and that's remained early. And although things have, in some places I've seen collapse, falling apart, that's also not what I'm hearing. I'm just hearing it's still too early. AC Milan would still want Ruben Loftus-Cheek, and we'd expect this to continue. Key to note, though, there's more clubs than AC Milan in this. There's clubs in the English Premier League that want Ruben Loftus-Cheek. My understanding is about 4 or 5 clubs that would be keen to take him as well. Germany also a possibility for him, and then there's 1 or 2 in Spain as well. So Ruben Loftus-Cheek's got a lot of interest. AC Milan are just the team that were pushing earliest, so have been named first. But there's a number of clubs who would take him.
Okay, interesting. Darko, have you got anything more to add on to that with the Ruben Loftus-Cheek situation? Because personally, look, I respect the player. Yeah, I'm sure you respect the player as well. He's a Cobham graduate, so he's got a special place in all the Chelsea fans' heart. But when we're talking quality and what's out there and what we're aiming to do going forward, realistically, I think we can unanimously agree Loftus-Cheek isn't of the quality to push us to where we want to go. Darko, please add on to anything that Fraizer said about the Loftus-Cheek move.
I personally believe that he was very unlucky a few years ago when he had that terrible injury, and he's not been able to kick on since. I think that now's the time for him to move on. He's been at the club for a while now. Everything comes to an end, and I want him to get a move so he's able to enjoy his football again, play on a regular basis. From what I do know, like Fraizer said, there are more than 3-4 clubs that are in for him at the moment of time. So Lazio being one of them as well. I know Lazio have strong interest in him with Sarri. SMS could be potentially leaving, so that's also one to look out for. AC Milan are the team most mentioned at the moment because they did go in early, like Fraizer mentioned. There are other teams as well in Spain that are looking at him too. So it's one to watch. I think he will definitely get done, but it's just when. It's just a question of when, but he will be gone.
Kovacic, Hakim Ziyech, and Pulisic, the 3, we know that, want to leave on their own accord. So let's start off with them. But Younes, obviously, I'm going to get the fans' opinion first before we ask the 2 below. But Younes, how would you feel watching the 3 of those players walk out of the door?
It's necessary. Kovacic, Pulisic, who's the others?
We're going to start off with Kovacic, Pulisic, and Ziyech first.
And Ziyech, yeah. So Pulisic and Ziyech, hands down. Realistically, Ziyech shouldn't even be here. Ziyech should have been gone time ago with the whole PSG thing, and that realistically just could have been our fault, and the whole email thing, if we remember. So yeah, you expect him to go, and I think rightfully so. He deserves to be playing his football. He's meant to be in his prime. He's meant to be living out his last years at the top. And I think it's not going to come at Chelsea. That's not going to happen. Pulisic, I feel like, is unfortunate, and at the same time has just not done much. There's the injuries and the fact he can't keep up full fitness, which I think is a key reason as to why many people are they're not even just like saying, oh no, let's just absolutely get rid of him. It's just like there's no emotion anymore. Like at first it was like, no, well, there might be a good player here. But since all of those injuries, it's just a case of, is there any point? And
also with Pulisic, what's not helped is the fact that, he kind of, to politely say, shat on Chelsea when he in his book. Do you know what I mean? And the things that he had to say about the club.
Book. Yeah, I forgot that. That's a good point. So that wasn't a good thing to do in relation with the fan base and all. So there is that point to make as well. I don't feel like anyone would want to see them stay. With Kovacic, I do think it's a case of it's best to just move on from what we've had as a whole. It wouldn't be the worst thing in the world for him to remain, but I do think the whole midfield needs a transformation, and Kovacic included. If we've seen Jorginho go, Kante's gone, it's only right that I think Kovacic doesn't possess all the abilities that we need in a midfielder to take us forward. I think he'd fit at City in terms of the little additional attributes that they could use here and there. But as a starter, week in, week out, 90 minutes, he's just not going to be that guy for us anymore. So, yeah, I think the 3 of them, best if they all go. respectfully.
Bit of an end of an era, really, isn't it? But I'm going to
Yeah.
start with Darko this time round. So those three players, Christian Pulisic, Hakim Ziyech, and Kovacic. What have you heard about their futures?
From what I do know, in regards to Christian Pulisic, he does have quite a bit of interest. I do know he's held talks with Napoli. He's also held talks with Juventus, and I do know that AC Milan are also watching closely in regards to him. In regards to cover, like Fraizer reported last week, he's in advanced talks with Man City right now. I believe an offer will go in sometime next week after the Champions League final. Personal terms are close to being agreed, I believe. I'm not sure that it's been done yet. And with Hakim Ziyech, it's been a bit quiet. I haven't had much information in regards to him. I do know he'll definitely be off, but I haven't had much information to what exactly is going on at the moment with Hakim Ziyech. I believe we'll see Kovar depart this month. The next 2 weeks, I believe he'll be gone.
Well, for a start, they're all available. Chelsea have been open to discussions about those players, so that's why. It's funny you were talking at this just before there about how we have no players left. The problem for Chelsea is they've got far too many. So the amount that you're selling actually just brings you down to a normal size squad, which is probably the bad thing. Kovacic has been in talks for a while now with Manchester City, so we would expect that to be done quite soon. My understanding is that personal terms haven't been difficult. He'd be quite keen to play there as well. So we would expect, as Darko kind of pointed out, Manchester City get the Champions League final out the way, and then they'll start to kind of do the deals that they want to get done. Obviously, full focus at the club right now is on trying to win the first Champions League, which has been escaping them, isn't it? So that's the most important thing. But Kovacic, we do expect that to be done soon. Christian Pulisic has had a lot of interest. My way to describe it would be nibbles in terms of people just kind of finding out, feeding, feeling the situation. AC Milan again have been mentioned there. I would look out for Roma here as well in Italy. They're someone that have been keen. They've also been around Loftus-Cheek deal as well in the background. So potentially Mourinho could come to Chelsea and steal a couple of their players, which would be very, very interesting. But Pulisic has also got a lot of interest in Germany as well. So Bayer Leverkusen have looked at him. Dortmund could potentially take him back. There's lots of clubs. Anyone you talk to now with Pulisic, it's just very early. I'm not going to say where he's going to go because it's too early for me to say that. And there's no actual official talks. We're waiting for that to happen now as well. And Ziyech, obviously we know what happened in January. Whose fault that is, it depends who you believe, right? Obviously there's two sides to the story. Chelsea blame technology and PSG blame Chelsea. So it depends who you believe on that side of things. But Ziyech, we do also expect to move as well. Just a nudge. I know he's not an older player, but I did hear earlier that there could be a potential for another Saudi move here. Wouldn't surprise me if you see an offer in that regard. Now, I want to make that clear. I'm not saying there is one right now, but it wouldn't surprise me if that's something that comes up in the future. If not, France again. I don't think Paris Saint-Germain are kind of finished with that deal also. If they could make that happen for a cheap price, they'd take him. He's a player that they wanted. He was in their offices. It was done. So that could also be revisited. And Paris Saint-Germain might feel they got their payback with Ugarte, who obviously threw every single journalist through a loop, obviously. With that, but they did do Chelsea there right at the end, so maybe they feel they've got that back. So we'll wait and see on that front. But the three players you would expect, we do expect, are going to leave the football club, and my understanding is their teams are working for them to leave the football club as well.
All three players, they've had a lot of stick at the club, some rightfully so. Let's have it right. We're not going to do any kind of false revisionism on these players, but at the same time, they've won stuff at our club. They've won a lot of honors at our club, so I'll forever be grateful for that. They're not terrible players. They're not bad players. They've found themselves in a very unfortunate set of circumstances at this current period at Chelsea Football Club, and I wish them the best. I wish them the best going forward. Kovacic, not so much because he's staying in the Premier League for obvious reasons, but you get me. The respect is still there, will always still be there. We're going to move on to two of the more higher profile outgoings. Yeah, Kai Havertz and Mason Mount, two very, very divisive players in the Chelsea fan base, but two players that have stepped up in very, very important moments in their Chelsea careers, regardless of what we think about them. And I am talking about, obviously, the Champions League final, the assist, the finish. Mason Mount to Kai Havertz. Now, the two of them could potentially be gone in one window. Younes, is this the answer to your prayers, or are you slightly disappointed to see both players leaving?
No, I think it's the right time. Overall, I think it's the right time. As I've said, I think in between the two, I would happily keep Mason Mount. Without question.
I don't disagree. I really don't disagree with that.
Yeah. But it's not the end of the world if he does end up going, which it does seem likely, and it seems like it's going that way towards Manchester United. So overall, Kai Havertz, I think, is an experiment that many people have been waiting for it to click, and it just hasn't. Despite him being played as a 9, and we all know that it's just not worked. And the problem is, even to this day, we still have the conversation of what is his best position, and he's been in the club for like 3 years or something. I think Thomas Tuchel brought it down to the best answer, let's say, which was 9.5 or 9.5, right? Which it means you're basically creating an entire new number and position just for him, which goes to show you he's not as versatile as we once thought. And if we're to go forward and to try and compete with, the best and try and get ourselves back to a place where we can compete for trophies and be up there, we need a clinical striker and we need a creative 10. And that immediately eliminates both Kai Havertz and Mason Mount. That's Absolutely. Just the truth. So, as with Mason, as much of a wonderful professional I think he is, and I don't want to use the term road runner, but you get it. The guy runs for years. He's just a fitness maniac. He works hard and he's disciplined. But there has to be more on the table in that role, and it's just not been enough, I feel. So, no, if they both go, as long as we bring in the replacements, we bring in the quality that we need, then cool. If we were to let them go, and I've said this on my videos, if we were to let them go and we don't actually bring in anyone, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
There's that to consider, and I hope the club are not that stupid. Of course, I don't think they are. I expect them to go, and I think it is the right call.
Yeah, I agree. Mason Mount, for me, once again, I appreciate what he's done, and there's a player in there, no doubt. And depending on which manager gets hold of him, I mean, I think if Jurgen Klopp got a hold of him, he's going to do really well at Liverpool.
That's where I'd be concerned. Exactly.
Yeah. So depending on where we sell him, we could see a potential star, that potential that we thought that he had. Obviously, we weren't able to see it shine through it entirely to its maximum potential at Chelsea if he's going to be moving this summer. But Fraizer, Mason Mount, Kai Havertz, two very high-profile players. But let's talk about Kai Havertz a little bit, because there's been a little bit of a controversial bit of news that came out the other day, and that is Real Madrid, first of all, were interested in Kai Havertz and were in discussions with Chelsea, apparently, if rumors were to be believed, for a move over to Real Madrid. And then we got the news, I believe it was yesterday or the night before, that the move has been completely ruled out. But a lot of people have been saying that the sources that has been quoting that isn't really the most reliable. So let me start off with you, Fraizer. Let me get your thoughts on the Kai Havertz situation, if you know anything about the situation.
I think the first thing to say is it was amazing how Kai Havertz went from interest to Real Madrid to joining Real Madrid in about 4 hours. I'm not that long in journalism, only 7 years, but it'll be the quickest deal I've ever heard in history. So let's start there. Secondly, I will say that it's still very early. Everything's still very, very early, and I know that's really depressing, right, and boring, but it's a fact. Real Madrid are still there. Chelsea are hoping for more people to come into the race. There are far more people interested in Kai Havertz. I've said this before on streams and spaces. He's got a lot of interest in Germany as well. Bayern Munich like Kai Havertz. This is something that could move as well. They've obviously got other targets. That's something that could happen. It's not just Real Madrid. So I think it's one that will take time. I think he will leave. He's told Chelsea he's ready to go. Chelsea are happy to let him go. In terms of a replacement, listen, you've got Christopher N'Golo coming in from Leipzig, and he plays that 9 role, dropping in the deep 9, false 9, whatever you want to call it, brilliantly. He's probably one of the best in Europe at it. So you've got him coming in there as well. So Havertz will leave. I think Real Madrid are still in there, but they're just taking their time with getting things done. You've got to remember Real Madrid have also just lost Benzema, so they're now looking at strikers. Yeah, I would expect, I don't know it's about Chelsea tonight, but I'm expecting Real Madrid to move for Harry Kane in the next couple of weeks as well. That's something that's definitely going to happen, in my opinion, from what I understand. So we'll wait and see. But a lot of interest in Kai Havertz. He will go. I think he's a bit, I don't know, I said this to a colleague yesterday, feels a bit like he could just do a Joelinton, suddenly go into the centre of midfield and be absolutely incredible as an 8. I don't know why. I feel like Eddie Howe's got him. He plays him in the middle of the park. Do you know what I mean?
Interesting you say that, because remember, Younes, Lampard did that in his first stint at Chelsea as manager.
He did, yeah. Very briefly, when it was at one point, it was ironically Mount and Havertz as those 2 8s, wasn't it? And then we tried to go with that sort of diamond with the 2 wingers, 1-10 and 1-9, and then Havertz dropped and became that 10. So, yeah.
Todd Bowley and Esbud are huge fans of Kai Havertz, and I don't know if you remember, I put out a few months ago that they're willing to offer him a new deal to keep him with the club, similar to the deal that Ben Chilwell got. And if he was not to extend, they would look to potentially move him on. What Chelsea are trying to do now is that anyone who's under contract within the next 12 to 24 months, if you're not looking to extend, they're trying to move them along. So with Kai, he wants a new challenge. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. I do think that with the Real Madrid links, like Fraizer said, they're just going to get a couple of things sorted out. It's still early. The window hasn't officially opened. So I know it's been very crazy. A lot of things have been going on, and the window hasn't even opened yet. So I think we just need a bit of patience in regards to that one. But I do see him in this summer with Kai Havertz. Mason Mount, that one there, he's gone. I can tell you that Mason Mount is definitely gone. United very, very close, but that one there, the bridges are burnt. The dad and the club not in talking terms. It's complete. The relationship is completely broken. There's no going back. There's no going back. Nothing can.
Yeah, Mason Mount for sure is set to leave. We know that he's agreed personal terms with Manchester United. He's told Manchester United he wants to go. He told Chelsea he wants to go. Chelsea were at last week. We're at about £80 million for Mason Mount. My understanding, Darko, I don't know if you've got the same, is that they're now dropped to about 70. Manchester United are still on 55. So the big problem here is not Mount. It's not the fact that Chelsea don't know he's leaving. It's not the fact that Man United don't know he's coming. It's the fact that Chelsea want a certain amount of money, and Manchester United at the moment are not willing to go there. So Chelsea and Man United need to come to a deal. I think, this is my gut, it will end at about £60 million with add-ons, up to about 65, and you'll see Mason Mount leave. That's what I think will happen over the next.
And I think that's a very fair number as well, man, because a year left on his contract. When you look at the bigger picture, if he had several years left on his contract, we're losing a hell of a lot of money. But, you can't cry over spilt milk, and you got to deal with the situation that is at hand. And I think 65 million for Mason Mount with only a year left on his contract is still good business on our end, especially at the fact that, he is a homegrown Cobham graduate as well. So that bodes even better for us getting him out of the club, Younes. So, some shocking news there. But did you know about this sport relationship between his dad and the club? Because this is news to me. I didn't really know this.
I didn't know it was completely broken. If it's actually at that point, or if it's destroyed, I didn't think it was that level. I just thought that they just not come to terms, or that there was the whole issue about salaries, and there was rumors going on about what Mason wants and what he's willing to take, and Chelsea not willing to give, and Chelsea happy to let him go because he's a homegrown, he's an academy product, he's pure profit, etc. That's as far as it went. And then we started hearing all the PR, didn't we? As fans have labeled this complete PR. So Mount's got his PR and Chelsea have got their PR, and it's who's lying here, no one knows. And that's as far as it's gotten. But as to whether to say that the relationship has completely broken, no, I didn't think it was that bad.
And considering who he is, that's sad. That's sad. But
sad,
I think professionally they've reached an impasse. I think we should say that. Like, professionally, they've reached a point where they're not going to come to a deal. That's where it's at. I would also say, like, from what I've heard, I don't think Mason's done anything Mason Mount, I should say, has been petulant or a child or throwing things about or annoyed. I think it's almost a sad situation that a guy who's grown up at the football club is now going to leave to go to one of your biggest rivals next season. And will likely be wearing the red of Manchester United. I will say, Darko will know this, I will say Liverpool are gutted that Manchester United have won this race. They put a lot of work into Mason Mount. So Jordan Henderson's agent was actually the intermediary for the deal for Liverpool. So Jordan Henderson's agent was working for that. They put a lot of work into that, and it's not happened. And I think if Liverpool had got top 4, Mason Mount would be going to Liverpool, in my opinion, at this time.
Yeah.
Are those deals still on the table for both Mason Mount and Kai Havertz? Because I know Darko mentioned that there was a contract on the table for Kai Havertz. If he doesn't sign, he will sell. And Mason Mount, we heard, well, we don't know. We don't know. Is there a contract offer still on the table for the both?
Apparently there's been nothing since February. That's what everyone's been told. I don't know if that's the case. Since February, there's been nothing. Or
this is with Mason Mount we're talking about, right?
Yeah. That's correct.
Okay.
Okay.
And the Kai Havertz situation?
Kai Havertz situation, he hasn't got an offer on the table yet, as of now, but the club are open to giving him a new deal.
Okay. All right then.
Yeah.
So
it's also who decides what an offer is.
A contract offer, an extension, extension of his current
honestly,
to stay at the club.
Seriously, with that again, like you speak to some people, and it's like, no, we've got an offer, and you might say, generic club might say, well, we've not given them an offer, and the person will say, yeah, we spoke about figures, and they said, nah, but we didn't actually offer you an offer. It's on paper. So what an offer? Yeah, I think there's been discussions since February trying, but I just don't think anything's happened. Actually, officially, a bit of paper down. Here's the deal, kind of thing. And Havertz, as Darko said, I think if he wants it, he'll get it. But at this point in time, it looks like he'd rather try something else. So.
Yeah.
So with Mason Mount, and I don't know if this is actually the case, so please feel free to interject. If what's been floating about is pre-getting Paul Winstanley and Lawrence Stewart into their roles at Chelsea, Todd Bowley and Igbali, who were acting sporting directors at the time, were happy to just offer a contract. But since those two came in, that's where everything's kind of gone pear-shaped. Is that the case? And that was obviously just around February, and then since then.
This was just after the World Cup. He had a contract there ready for him to sign after the World Cup. And this was the agreement, and it was taken off after the World Cup, and this is how it's caused all these issues. So it's a bit surprising that, you know, that had happened. And so with this situation that Fraizer mentioned, Mason Mount, he's done no wrong here. He's done no wrong. I don't know why Chelsea did that. They offered him a deal, and they took it off the table. So
this is why I mentioned the whole Paul Winstanley and Lawrence Stewart thing, because a lot of fans are trying to put 2 and 2 together, and they just say, well, that's got to be the common denominator, but we don't know.
I think as well that it's key to note the deal could have been signed before the World Cup.
Okay.
So okay. There's no smoke without fire. There's always takes two to tango. I do think there was a number of things from both sides that just haven't matched as well. I do think there is a big say in what's happened with Chelsea's wage structure. I think that's really important to note. Chelsea, Todd Bowley, Big Dag and Bally, they really are aware that the wages at the football club are what suck most of your money away, and also transfer fees. That's why they're giving out these contracts that aren't as big lump sum fees but have bonus structures. So they're trying to bring the wage bill of the club down, and then you've got a Mason Mount who wants to match Reece James on £200,000 a week, and they're saying, no, we don't work like that anymore. So it's almost like a guy who was in a position where it was like, right, I'm going to get this deal, massive takeover change suddenly at the club like that because of the circumstances around it. Then Bowley and Egbat were trying to get him to sign a deal that was similar to their wage structure, but also as close as to what he was before. Then they've brought in Paul Winstanley and co, who are now helping them streamline yet again, and the whole thing's just not going to work. You're just constantly battling against each other. So I'm not surprised it's come to this, but I think it's just two businesses, if you want to call Mount a business, that have just got their own personal interests, and it's just not working out, unfortunately.
Fair enough, but I think the majority of us just want to see this saga come to an end. It's been going on for long enough. It's been a very divisive topic, and I just want it to be over, to be fair. And that note, Outgoings, I'm going to leave it there. We can talk about some more outgoings on our next show on Sunday. Yeah, so make sure you do tune in for that one. I'm not going to do them all on one episode, but we are going to be moving on to potential incomings. We're going to start from back to front, goalkeeper, defense, midfield, and so on and so forth. So, goalkeeper situation, we know it must be addressed. We've heard the rumors, Younes, that Mendy could be likely to leave because his wages are quite affordable for him to move on. And apparently he does have interest. We'll obviously let the boys elaborate a bit more in a bit. And then there's the situation with Kepa. Not so easy to get rid of, not so easy to get off the books. His wages are a problem. We gave him a super long contract. I believe it was like 7 years.
7 years.
Ridiculous. Yeah. Yep. So we've been stuck with him on about, correct me if I'm wrong, about
Well, it's been a while now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been a minute, but he's on a lot of money. I mean, for his quality and for the teams that he really should be looking at, I don't think many can afford him. But nonetheless, Chelsea need a massive, massive upgrade on the goalkeeper situation. It is, for me, one of the key positions that need to be fixed. But what are some of the rumors that you've heard floating around about potential goalkeepers? And then we'll ask the lads what they think of each of those goalkeepers.
Yeah, but recently there's not really been much. The initial ones that were touted that I saw was obviously Raya. There was Onana as of late, and then there was the whole situation of a possible, maybe a swap if Mendy were to go one way, Onana comes the other. We had scouted, is it Valencia's goalkeeper? Is it Valencia's goalkeeper?
I'm not even gonna pronounce his name, bruv. Yeah. We're gonna call him Veli because that's the only part of the name that I remember. So I'm gonna call him Veli over there at Valencia. But yeah, go on.
We'll just call him Dave 2.0.
Yeah, there you go. That works.
But yeah, apart from those, I don't think there's really been much. All the focus has been on the players that are leaving, and then some of the ones to come in, like Ugarte and all of those. But goalkeepers, I think that's all that there's been, and I don't think many people are entirely convinced. People look at Mike Maignan, for example, of AC Milan, and go, "Yeah, no, that's the keeper everyone wants to be rumored with." But only up until a couple of days ago, where the whole Maldini situation happened, his name didn't pop up. So I don't know if there's actual case that he is maybe a little bit unhappy because Maldini's been sacked or has his head turned. Don't know. If it has, I would advise Chelsea go in for him. That's just...
Darko, can you add on to that? Because we definitely should be looking at goalkeepers. Me personally, my personal favorites, and just dismiss them if you think there's absolutely no chance. But the goalkeepers I would love to have at Chelsea Football Club at the moment would be either Mike Maignan. I think he's a very good goalkeeper, as many do. I wouldn't mind Emi Martinez as well of Aston Villa. I think he's a very good goalkeeper, and he's also got a bit of a bastard streak that we're missing at Chelsea Football Club. I love those sort of players. It's a personal preference, but I believe you need them kind of personalities in your squad. It gives you that bit of extra grit that we're massively lacking. And there was a third one, but yeah, the names just completely slipped my mind. But Darko, go on. Just elaborate on Costa, my guy over there at Porto. I love that guy. Yes. I love Costa.
With Costa, I do know United have been scouting him this season a lot. He has a 75 mil release clause. De Gea will sign his new deal, I believe, next week. He will reject other interest from different clubs. That's been ongoing for a while now. So Ten Hag does want another keeper to compete with him. The problem is with the ownership of United and the restriction of funds, he's not exactly too sure how much he has to work with. So that will be one to watch. But Costa does want to leave this summer. He wants a new challenge. He would love to come to the Premier League. It remains to be seen what does Chelsea do exactly, because I do know Onana is an option. Inter do like Koulibaly as well. So it will be interesting to see what happens with that one. Martinez, I do know Villa don't want to sell him, so it'll be hard to convince them. And Tottenham also keen on him as well, and along with Raya. So it will be interesting to see how that plans out in regards to the goalkeeper situation. But it does need to be resolved. Me personally, I do think that Costa is the best option out of all of them. unless we're going for the Milan keeper, Mike. So yeah, I think Costa's the best solution for Chelsea. That's something they cannot get wrong. They have to address that position.
Chelsea have done a lot of scouting in this area, as you can imagine. Actually, over the past kind of season since Todd Bowley's come in, it's been one of the main areas they've scouted. Marmadashvili is the goalkeeper that's at Valencia.
There you go.
Chelsea have watched him on a number of occasions. Not one, I think, that's advanced or moved any further than that at this stage. Then, obviously, David Raya has been a player that was the number one choice for the goalkeeper position for a long time. He's rejected 2 offers from Brentford. Tottenham have Raya on their list as well. Tottenham would still like to sign Pickford, which is going to be difficult to do, but that's what they would like to do. So David Raya is still in there. Onana's a doable deal, a very doable deal. Darko talked about Koulibaly there, but there's also a certain Mr. Lukaku who's still at Inter Milan as well, so that could also feed into things. But Onana is a doable deal, a player that's liked a lot. Pochettino likes him a lot. He can move the ball quickly. He's one of those goalkeepers nowadays that could play in midfield probably. Very, very good with the ball at his feet. Maignan is the best goalkeeper in Europe, perhaps, in my opinion. I think he's been... I'm removing England from that because I think Alisson and Ederson are different level, he's been fantastic, and the amount of money it would take to get him out of AC Milan, despite the problems elsewhere in the club or what's happened, is going to be ridiculous. So if Chelsea want to spend 70 to 80 million pound on a goalkeeper, then they can, but that's what they're going to need to spend to bring this guy in. So yeah, and I think Gregor Kobel could be still one to watch. He's a player that Chelsea have watched on a number of occasions, the Borussia Dortmund goalkeeper. They've watched him on a lot of occasions, but he would be, in my opinion, at this point, someone that would have been a Bowley signing and not the current team who are working with Bowley to bring him in. So there's a number of names that still remain that would have been when Bowley was trying to do it himself, it seemed. And then there's the new kind of names. I think Onana generally for me is one to watch. I think that's something that really could happen. But we'll see over the coming weeks. They've got a Champions League final to deal with first, and they'll deal with that. But Onana's great. So yeah, Chelsea also just on Maignan. Remember AC Milan? They're in talks for Loftus-Cheek. They're interested in Christian Pulisic as well. So Chelsea have got a lot of talks going on with them just now, right now. And I would think that's already been sounded out at this point.
Interested, man. There's some names there. You mentioned Younes that I'd be very excited about seeing coming to Chelsea Football Club. But out of those mentioned, I just want to know who would be your first choice out of all of them? Who would you like to see most as number one in the Chelsea shirt?
Mike Maignan for sure. And as Fraizer just pointed out, if we were to have that sort of leverage with some of the players that they're interested in, then it only helps, and that would be fantastic. If that can't happen for whatever reason, fair enough. I wouldn't be sad to see Onana come to Chelsea either. I'd be happy with Onana.
I think he's a good keeper. I think he's got excellent reflexes. He's really good with the ball at his feet as well. And on top of that, he's a bit of a leader. He's a strong presence there as well. Yeah. You know, if we're going to be fielding a quite young defense a lot of the time in the season, because let's have it right, Thiago Silva is a bit of a wild card at this point, being, you know, close to 40 years old. You can't rely on him game in, game out at this point. As brilliant as he's done, but still, at any point, it could go left. So you never know with that. So I think that's another massive sticking point. But then again, Martinez, I feel, is built in that kind of same mold, but with even more of a shithouse approach that I love. Do you know what I mean? Maignan is what I imagine to be similar. I mean, I can't say I've been watching Serie A religiously and AC Milan week in, week out, but even at Lille, I always looked at him and said, yeah, this guy here is a keeper. I mean, we had him in the Champions League, I believe it was twice, once, both in the group stages, was it? I think it was. Yeah. And he was one of the bright sparks and definitely one to look out for. But just before we move on to the next position, which will be, we're going to skip the defense and we're going to move straight into the midfield. But Darko, as a Chelsea fan, I would love to know who would be your number one choice as goalkeeper.
As goalkeeper, number one choice, if I'm being realistic, from the options presented, I'll probably go for Onana. And that's probably out of me picking him with Raya and so on. I'll probably just edge with him.
I would actually take Mike Maignan right now. I think he's one of the best goalkeepers in Europe, like I said, and I think he would be one of the best goalkeepers in the Premier League. Onana's fantastic with the ball at his
100%.
feet, but Mike Maignan not bad with the ball at his feet. He's just not quite Onana level. But for saves, I watched. I was at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium for Tottenham versus AC Milan in the Champions League. I was down there, and he actually made a phenomenal save right at the end of the game. Harry Kane looks like he's got the winner down to the right. You're just thinking this guy, and it looked easy, by the way. That was the thing about it. So he's a goalkeeper that doesn't make loads of super saves, but they're amazing saves. You just don't notice how easy it makes it look. So I think if you can get him, phenomenal. But I think that's going to be hard.
I'd love him. I'd love Diogo Costa. I would
Diego
love,
Costa. You could have him back if you want.
Yeah, yeah. Got mixed up. There,
you said you wanted some shithousery on the team.
Yeah, I would love that. I would love that. A bit of subconscious nostalgia. That
we just won't sign him as a player. We'll just sign him as an official shithouser.
Yeah, should we just sign him to just
stick him in the dressing room and close the door?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that'd be lovely.
There's a lot of interest in Diogo at Porto. Sorry, there's a lot of interest in him as well, and that he's a goalkeeper that will move. I just think it's whether Manchester United want to move for him now, and I think Costa is signing this new deal that actually might turn off Diogo Costa as well. You've got to watch this because he's not coming to be a number 2 anywhere.
Facts.
Just want to say that's gonna pee off a lot of Man United fans.
It is.
They're not gonna be happy with that at all.
Especially Rance. I'm gonna love it. Rance and Said.
They want him gone.
Yeah.
He's signing a new long-term deal. He's been Man United's number 1 for 8 years, maybe. I think that's off the top of my head. So he's not dropping to number 2. I think Ten Hag's the kind of manager that will say there's going to be a competition, but Man United will say he'll be gone in January next summer if he's not playing regularly. David De Gea. So I just don't see how. It's a difficult situation for Ten Hag, I think.
Targets are looking good, man. It sounds exciting, but we're going to move on to the DM situation, a position that we've desperately been needing to address for several years since Matic has left. I know Jorginho played in that area, but his role was different and there were a lot of physical limitations to him. Fair play to him. Another player that did win a lot with Chelsea Football Club. I'll be grateful for that. But we have desperately needed to address that area. Darko, I'm just going to jump straight to you, man, because you've been on the same page saying DM. We need the DM. Yep. Several names we've been linked with. Ugarte, obviously, we've been had by PSG, as Fraizer said earlier on in the stream. Looks like he will be going there. Well, it looks official. I think it is official that he's at PSG at this point.
Yeah.
But there are other options out there. Declan Rice, Caicedo, Romeo Lavia as well. Even Palhinha from Fulham.
The only thing I'm asking for is please give us some good news.
I think me and Darko are about to talk about the same 2 players, but I'll let him go first.
Do one each. You guys can do one each. Darko start with one. Fraizer will do the other.
I'll just bounce off Darko because I don't know what he's going to say, so I'll just bounce off. I'm just guessing.
I think Guni, you mentioned Declan Rice. It's no chance. That deal was as good as done.
Swear down, the guy from the guy that we developed at Cobham, we didn't believe in him. He went to the rivals at West Ham. Is going to be rejecting Chelsea.
Even with that, I did mention about the situation with Mason Mount and the club.
I was going to say,
it might come out a bit soon, but there's also been problems with Rice and the club as well. Rice's family and the club.
Wow.
So they're not happy with Chelsea as well. So that's something to watch out for. You might hear more things come out when he does completely. But that one there, completely dead in the water, not happening at all. He's given his word to Mikel Arteta. They've had meetings. They've been talking since October. This has been going on since October. Arsenal have done a lot of groundwork on this deal. He doesn't want to leave his young family in London as well or take them to Germany. It's just about Arsenal agreeing the fee now. I should expect movement I think Fraizer said the next few days or so.
Well, Arsenal will begin official talk with West Ham, in the next few days,
What kind of numbers are we looking at, Darko, for them to facilitate this move over to the Emirates?
Oh, in terms of the numbers, I think I'm not too sure. I think Fraizer knows more about the numbers. I'm not too sure in regards to the numbers.
Well, West Ham have Declan Rice valued at around about the £100 million mark, which is, I think, actually, if the thing is, I don't ever now compare any player to the price tag. I just don't think it's any point. I think football's kind of beyond that.
Yeah.
So I think, it's like, oh, he's not worth that. Well, nobody is. So, I mean, no player is now. He's England international midfielder, potential England captain in future. He's shown what he can do going forward this season as well as at the back. He's a commanding presence, a leader. He's still got years in his contract that they can use as well. And then, of course, he's just a valued player. So, yeah, Mikel Arteta and Arsenal like him a lot. There's been a lot of reports Bayern Munich are done a deal, and that's it. But I don't see that as the case at all because Arsenal will start talks in the coming days. Arsenal's bid's not even in yet, and Declan Rice has agreed to the project at Arsenal. So, yeah, I would expect a £90-odd million deal to be done for Declan Rice. If Arsenal can get it over the line, because it's all ifs, buts, and maybes until it's done. But there is certainly absolute faith at Arsenal that they can have him playing at their stadium next season.
Wow.
No chance of Declan Rice, it sounds, Younes.
No. And to be honest, it's no. For me, it's been a little while since I've really paid much attention to a possibility of Declan Rice to Chelsea. And I have to be honest, just in terms of the whole Mason Mount situation, I had a feeling that if Mount's going, there's no way Rice is coming in. That's just not going to happen. I don't think that would be the case. So yeah, I've expected if we are going to address a DM position, it's going to be elsewhere, not Declan Rice. I've felt that for a while.
Oh, I do expect some movement on Lavia within maybe early next week or the end of the week. I do expect some movement to happen in regards to that. In regards to Caicedo, I don't know too much that's going on right now. I do know the club are going to pursue a move. I don't know what exactly is going on. I'm not sure if they want to involve Levi. I think Fraizer will know more about that. And I do know the Viega situation. That was more of agent talk. I do understand that he's not a target Chelsea are pursuing right now, from what I was told. And watch out for James Maddison as well. That's another one that I was told about last week. So watch out for James Maddison. Yeah.
Interesting, but James Maddison isn't a DM, as we all know, and that is a role that we definitely need to address. But Fraizer, I mean, Romeo Lavia is a player I've been singing praises about him all season. I think he's a very good player. In fact, he's a player that Darko and another friend of ours, Mike, actually informed me about a long while ago, and ever since I've watched him, I thought he's been absolutely brilliant. But my only issue is here, Fraizer, is that he's still a baby, respectfully. He's still a teenager, a very talented one, and definitely can contribute. But I feel, especially in such a mature position like that, we do need to have another midfielder with perhaps a bit more experience as well there to sort of support him and to perhaps show him the ropes in his young years. Do you know what I mean? But what have you heard in terms of the DM front?
So talks with Caicedo have begun. Chelsea have started talking to Brighton about that. I mean, It's early, obviously, and there's a lot of work to go into that. I'm very careful when reporting about Caicedo because I do believe there are some clauses within his deal that facilitate a move. But I need to be really specific when I say this. It's not a monetary amount, so it's not Chelsea give us 50 million and it unlocks the door and he can go. I think there's more different factors within the club that's buying him. So it could be a Champions League club getting a first option or something like that. And that's just a hypothetical because I don't have the exact detail of what those clauses are. I just know they are there to facilitate a move, and Chelsea would like him. Brighton say they want £80 million for him, which would be, I think, very good for them to get at this point in time. So we'll wait and see. But Brighton are also aware there's more sharks in the water in summer for Caicedo. So unlike January, where only certain clubs kind of move in that moment with that amount of money, in summer there's more clubs kind of looking at him. Bayern Munich with Declan Rice will shift to Caicedo. They like him a lot as well. Could they convince him? Champions League football, I've said it's not that big a deal to Caicedo, but in terms of those clauses, it could be. So that's just a could. Could is the word I've used there. So just on that. On Lavia, it's really interesting you talk about him being young because Chelsea's whole thing at the moment is having players who are project players that they can build into the future of the club. They want players to be there for the long haul. So he fits that. He's 19 years old. He was Southampton's absolutely superstar this season. Obviously, signed for Manchester City, who have got a buyback clause around £40 million, but that doesn't come active until 2024. So clubs who want them need to go now. Needs to be this summer, because Man City will just come in and take him next summer, and could go early this summer as well. Chelsea have done the most groundwork at this point in time on him. I know there's been conversations with Lavia's agents and Chelsea Football Club about the potential, and they're trying to do a deal with Southampton, who want around the £50 million mark, just over the kind of buyback from Manchester City. And I think that's where the deal will kind of lie. So we'll wait and see. I expect Chelsea to move for Lavia, just like Darko was saying, in the next couple of weeks. But they've got Caicedo to deal with first as well. And I know you touched on Maddison there. I think Havertz will have a big effect on Maddison's future. Newcastle United are still very, very keen on Maddison, as are Tottenham Hotspur. So Chelsea might run out of time to get him almost, if they're kind of waiting for other things or working on other things. So, but Maddison's certainly in the reckoning as well. But I know he's not a defensive midfielder, but I just thought I'd throw that in.
No, fair enough. And Darko, I've emphasized, man, we desperately need more than just one DM. So hypothetically, let's say Caicedo does go to a Bayern Munich or something like that, and Declan Rice does go over to Arsenal. Are there and we do sign Romeo Lavia? Are there any other potential like outside options that we could be looking at seriously to bring in as the second DM option, or will that just be it?
I do know Chelsea want two midfielders regardless. The problem is which two.
Yeah.
Kone is also still an option. I think everyone's forgotten about Kone, who's still an option. But Liverpool are pursuing him right now. So
I was just about to say, yeah.
Chelsea need to be quick in the market. They need to be quick.
Yeah, Liverpool are all over Kone at the moment, so I would suspect that could be one that goes to Liverpool for a very good deal, I'm told. I think Liverpool could have one of those summers where you're like, what? Like we've seen with Alexis McAllister for the amount that he's signed, right? I think that you could have one of them.
35 mil was crazy.
35 mil, and apparently that's a release clause.
Yeah.
Crazy.
That's a good price. That's a very good price, man. But if there's anything that Chelsea can definitely compete in, if it hasn't been this season, it's definitely financially. So let's hope they move fast. I like Kone, although I feel that he's also not really a DM. Although he did start in he did play there in his younger years. He's still a relatively young player, but I think he's just developed more into more of a box-to-box sort of player. He's such a skillful player, man. Excellent player. He's a player that I love, and I wouldn't mind seeing him also as a midfield option at Chelsea. So obviously we've got to see what happens there at Liverpool, but we're going to shift slightly further up the pitch. I'm not going to keep you guys too long. We are approaching the hour mark, and it is quite late over there in the UK. But you know what? We'll give them a bit of a wild card, Younes. Throw out a question. Any player, any position, it doesn't matter, that we haven't addressed yet.
Oh, I mean, of course, if it's not the DM role, which we've clearly discussed, then the next one's a striker, please.
Oh.
Is there a number 9 that we can get somewhere that can
Fraser's nodding with some emphasis there, man. Yo, you look like you got something to tell us there, bruv.
It's an abs. Listen, but it's not a secret. Chelsea need a striker massively. They need a goal scorer. Breaking news exclusive. Chelsea need a striker, right? I mean, seriously. We know that. I think if you had a striker, honestly, the amount of games you would have won, just because you were in so many good positions and attacking threats, and there was just nobody to finish the dinner, right? Lots of cooking was getting done. Nobody did any eating. That was the problem. So you need to have a striker. Lautaro Martinez has been someone the club have looked at, spoken about, and spoken to Inter Milan about. I know that for a fact. So that's one that Chelsea have looked at. One that Pochettino absolutely loves. But the problem with Lautaro Martinez is he's not really your sits up front and bags the goals, man. He gets a lot of goals, but he works incredibly hard. That's what Ten Hag really likes him as well. That's what they like about him, is how hard he works. Holland is a fantastic young player as well, but Manchester United will move on him in the next couple of weeks. That's what I would expect. Victor Osimhen is loved by Chelsea, but will cost around 130 million euros to get him out of Napoli. Yeah. And Napoli are, as is their right, will hold out for every penny that they can get for that. and want to get him tied down to a new long-term deal as well. So that's a very, very, very difficult deal for them to do. And this is where the likes of Vlahovic's name and things start coming in. And the reason that is Vlahovic is available in summer, has told Juventus he wants to leave, and Juventus are willing to sell him as well. Then you start talking about Lukaku-Vlahovic swaps, which have obviously come up in conversations you would have heard. Chelsea are keen to get Lukaku off of the books. My understanding is, though, Lukaku would be keen to stay where he is at Inter Milan. So that's going to be an interesting one across the board. But there's a number of options. I think Chelsea's best bet at the moment is the likes of Lautaro Martinez. I think he is probably Chelsea's best option right now. Harry Kane coming to Chelsea is a million miles away at this point in time, I'm afraid, Chelsea fans. It's just, I know he's Pochettino, but if Tottenham are not, Daniel Levy is not going to easily sell Harry Kane to Chelsea. Definitely. You'll be £120 million to Chelsea. There will be a tax on that because of what's happening there. So, yeah, unfortunately, at the moment, you've got a lot of fingers and a lot of pies. I think the boy Holland at Atalanta is a very good option for Chelsea at this point in time. He's available for around £45-50 million. He's young. He's got an amazing goal scoring record internationally. If you've seen him actually play, he's so athletic. It's unbelievable how athletic he is. He's a bit like Haaland with that. He looks like a bit of a powerhouse, and then he runs, and you're like, my goodness me, he sprints as well. So it's a good deal done. But again, it's like that race. The problem you've got is all these clubs are shopping in the same place, and you need to be fast to get these players. You've seen it with Ugarte. You've seen it with Declan Rice. Arsenal are moving on that, and they'll get him. Chelsea need to get Caicedo before others come in and get him. So that's the problem you have. But we'll wait and see. I think Fofana, who came in January, will go in the summer, not permanently. I think you'll see him go out. And I actually suspect Chelsea will try to get 2 strikers in rather than just the one. So my understanding is there could be 2 coming in to Chelsea rather than just 1 striker. I don't know if Darko can add to that.
Yeah, Fraizer, I did hear about that. I think one experienced one and another young one. That's from what I was told. It's the ideal scenario. Yeah, that's definitely true.
There we have it on the striker situation. We have approached we've just gone over the 1 hour mark. So listen, just to really quickly summarize, I'm happy at the fact that, the players that we want moving on are getting quite a lot of interest, because before this stream, Younes, I don't know about you, there were several names, Loftus-Cheek, 1 or 2 other midfielders that I felt we weren't going to be able to get out the door, but it does sound like we've got interest from other clubs in those players. So I'm happy to hear that. Hopefully we can see that progress in the summer. And then obviously our incoming targets in all the key positions that we're looking at, they seem to be fairly decent as well. Well, at least I feel. So I've got a sense of optimism, but it's like Fraizer has said, it's like Darko has said, yeah, it's just about, being first and being able to convince the players and getting the deal over the line. The key is just acting fast and just trying to get deals closed. But that's the thing.
We absolutely need the urgency. I said this earlier on with some of the other lads. Is we need to be urgent because we're not in a situation like other clubs. Other clubs are where they want to be. That's not a problem. We're so far from where we want to be that we have to play catch up. So it would be, the intention seems like it's there, but it's all about the execution. Now, we need to execute. If we don't, we're in trouble.
Well, the thing is, the Chelsea aren't panicking. I will say that. There is no panic about it. You do have Armando Broja to come back as well from a long-term injury, so he's still at the club, and I know that's someone that Pochettino's keen to work with as well. So that's a second striker, technically. If Chelsea goes, you know what, we'll go big on one and we'll take him as a 2, that's fine, but he's had a long-term injury. So, he might be better going out somewhere or playing in the reserves for a while or just straight,
Yep.
So there's all these factors to take in. I think Chelsea are more focused on getting that midfield 2 and the goalkeeper at this point in time, and then the work on the striker. And that sounds a bit mad for Chelsea fans to hear, but these are deals that will take time because they're going to be the big money ones. The big money deals are always the boys that put the ball in the back of the net. So they're the ones that will take time.
No, absolutely. Darko, have you got anything to add before we sign off?
There's going to be a hot summer. It's going to be a hot summer. Yeah, it's going to be a hot summer.
Do you know one thing I don't have is a catchphrase? Darko's got his barbecue on the go all the time, and I don't have a catchphrase. So, anyway, I say mate all the time. I call anyone mate, so people were like, "Put mate in as your cat." Listen, if you've got any suggestions, stick them in the comments.
Come up with a catchphrase for Fraizer.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll come up. Yeah, Darko is good at coming up with names. We'll think of something for you though, Fraizer. But listen, everybody's social media details, Twitters, Instagrams, all of that good stuff, YouTube channels. I'm gonna ask you, Fraizer, after the stream, what platforms that you use. In fact, you could just send them to me on WhatsApp, and I'll make sure that you're linked in the description, so you can go and give the lads a follow, give them some support, and definitely go and get way more news than you heard here on this stream from both Darko and Fraizer. Obviously, Younes, you already know where to find him. Younes Talks Football, amazing channel. Never miss one of his videos. Good to have you back here on the channel, Younes.
Pleasure,
Let the
my
people
friend.
them know what
Welcome
you've got
back,
coming
Jesus.
up.
Cheers, my bro. So it's all the latest, really, isn't it? And the fact that there's so much going on has resulted in double uploads and the launch of shorts on the channel now, because that's not what I was doing before, but now it's become necessary just to cover everything. Yeah, all the Chelsea news as well as other bits of news, what's going on elsewhere as we gear up to the transfer window, and then it's going to be looking forward to the new season when it does come around. So that's it, really. Younes Talks Football.
Fraizer, what have you got coming up? Do you have any streams that you got coming up? Any articles that you've got coming up that you want the people to have a look at?
Tomorrow I've got an article coming out about a Fulham target. I know that's not Chelsea, but a Fulham target left winger. Very, very interesting target for them. So that'll be out tomorrow morning. I do the Insider Focus for Football Insider on YouTube as well. You can catch that. It's been
Amazing.
great to do. Different clubs and stuff. We talk about targets, etc. And the Insider Track, where I'll have one of my colleagues on. I'm very blessed to work with very good colleagues in their areas, Merseyside correspondent or whoever, to come on. And then social media is just my Twitter, guys. So you'll find me on there. That's where all my articles go for Football Insider. And what have I got coming up? Well, as of tomorrow night, I am off for 4 days to try and get some sanity before this all goes up, because we're not even kicked off yet, and we've already had the Ugarte, we've had Messi, we've had Benzema. I mean, the window's not even open, so I'm going to get a little kind of mini holiday in before we actually go bonkers and see what happens.
Darko, we're back on Sunday. We're back with that barbecue on Sunday, bruv. Are you ready for that?
Oh, I'm always ready. The coal's always on fire. I'm always ready, bro.
Yeah, man. You lot already know where to find Darko, man, on the socials. If you don't know where to find Darko, let Darko tell you, and two, I'll tell you again down there in the description, clickable links. But Darko, tell them.
Yep, you want to find me on Twitter? If you're feeling hungry, you know where to find me. Darko_Bbq. Yeah, all summer cooking's all summer. Everybody's gonna get served. Yeah, you know where to find me. That's where you want to find me. That's where you find me.
We're definitely going to be giving you some more hot news, hot barbecues on Sunday. We're going to be discussing other players that we haven't discussed today and potential players that may come up in the next few days. Thank you to everybody that has joined in. Please make sure you do smash the like if you did enjoy the video. Also, leave your thoughts down there in the comments. I definitely will be interacting with you. I know Younes does come and interact in some of the videos sometimes when he's got time as well. Fraizer, Darko, you're more than welcome to contribute as well. And yeah, also share the video if you liked it. Let's get us back on this road to 20K. I know it's been a while, but consistency is coming back. People, definitely, I have missed this. And big up to everybody that has been dropping the messages in the DM asking where Man Knows Football has gone. We are back here. And thank you very much to the 3 that have joined. Obviously, this is officially Darko's show, but I'm just here to host. I'm here to listen. I'm like you guys. A lot of this news today has been brand new news to myself, has been brand new news to Younes. So once again, a massive thank you to both Fraizer and Darko for the information provided in the stream today. Big up yourselves. We are out. Peace out.